Hello, this is Brian with Ghosts of Georgia Paranormal Investigations, and today's Tech Talk is going to be an overview of cameras and how we use them in our investigations. You'll notice that I have just a few here. I have one that we typically put on a tripod, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. A digital, almost like a GoPro. We use a 4K, but it's the same type of concept. The old traditional camera, which are all digital, and a couple of other devices that we'll talk about in a second. It is important before we get into all of the cameras to understand what are the different types of cameras and what is the purpose of each of them. So first off, one of the things that we use, because we do mostly night investigations, is infrared. And so infrared cameras or night vision cameras detect images using light at a higher frequency, which is near the infrared region and closest to visible light. So you'll see these as green figures seen in ghost hunting shows or in night vision goggles. There's also thermal cameras. I don't have one here, but they're also used. FLIR is typically the one that they go by, but that's where you'll see the colors like red, green, or yellow based on the object's temperature. And then of course there's a full spectrum camera, and the full spectrum camera detects visible, infrared, and ultraviolet wavelengths. So you could get several of these different types of cameras. Non-digital cameras use film to record the images, and digital cameras use pixels. Most of the cameras that we use during our investigations, 99.9% are digital. So let me go ahead and talk to you in general about those. So what I have here, and I mentioned this earlier, is a 4K, again, like a GoPro. When this takes pictures, it uses just the normal light. Just consider you're using your iPhone or a different camera to take a picture. In the dark, those pictures would be completely black. What we use is infrared light. Now, what I have here, this is, you'll see the 4 dots, and I'll go ahead and flip it on, and you'll see they turn red. In pitch black, that will illuminate far enough that as you take your pictures, you will be able to see what you're shooting. Now, in the ghost shows, if you happen to see a few of them, you'll notice that what you're seeing in the show is that dark, grainy. That's because there are infrared lights going on. What the investigator is seeing normally is just pitch black, or they're sitting in pitch black. We do, during an investigation, set up stationary cameras throughout the investigation area. And that is typically what this is. And there's a lot of different models, but you'll notice if you look at this, in the very center is what we call a bullet cam. And it is a high def camera, and around here, all these little white dots, they're infrared. Again, same concept as this, just much higher. So when we turn all the lights out, this is actually recording, and these pop on. If the lights went on, all of these lights go off so that the recording quality stays the same. We then tie these cameras to a DVR, and we do that through these connections. This is for the video here, and this would be the power over that cable as well. So sometimes you can have a power adapter here, you just plug it into the wall locally. We normally run power all the way back to our DVR along the same wire. The way that we also connect these is typically using a tripod. And this is how we connect them. This comes right off the tripod. And then at the very bottom of this, you'll see that there are some holes depending on how you want to screw it. What we typically do is go right in here to the bottom. And you'll see a screw. You simply line it up and tighten it, and boom, it's on. And then this just slides right back into here with the camera on it, and you just set your tripod up. So the other thing that is interesting when you're doing these pictures and you're starting to take pictures is to do before and after during an investigation. So one of the things that we do often is we'll walk through before we start an investigation snapping pictures. Most of the time I'll use this camera. And this camera here is just a regular Nikon. We have the lights on and we take the pictures. Why do we do that? Well, we do that so that later on we can compare that to other pictures to see if something has moved since the last picture, if perhaps we'll capture an image. A lot of people believe that you can only capture spirit images at dark. That is not true. You can take them anytime and capture them. It's actually a lot more false positives in the dark because you'll see dust and that type and bugs, and a lot of people think those happen to be orbs, which I can tell you most of the time they are not orbs. If you actually go to one of our other videos, which is evidence that we've collected, you can see the difference between what would be considered a dust and what actually is an energy orb. So going back to the cameras, why would we use one over the other? Well, the IR is the most helpful because the pictures that we're taking don't have any external light flashes. There isn't anything that could cause that image. Some people do believe that if you are taking pictures with flashes, it actually enhances the spirit image. We have found that it blurs a lot. So that's why we typically leave flashes off, use infrared, and in the dark is when we typically take them, only because we do night investigations. During day investigations, obviously IR would not work well. Thermal, however, and again, I don't have a thermal camera here, thermal cameras can work day, night, what have you, and again, that's where they interpret the picture in colors, red, green, yellow, again, based on the object's temperature. So that's a high overview of the cameras, why we use them, how we use them, and as always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.